Welcome to That's So Rad podcast. I'm your host, Travis Vangsnes. This is a podcast about people, their passions, their life experiences, and their stories. As writer Frederick Buechner once said, the story of any one of us is in some measure the story of us all. All of us can learn something valuable from someone else's life and their stories. Join us for another conversation where we learn, laugh, and leave, seeing our own life in new ways. What's more rad than that? Welcome to That's So Rad podcast. I'm your host, Travis. I am joined by my brother, Dan, as the first guest, 2026.
Trav, good to be here.
Tip of the old cowboy hat.
Tip of the old hat. And this has a story. Maybe we'll get into later, but she's heavy, all right, up here.
I was going to
say,
say,
top heavy.
There's 10-gallon hats that looks like about a 9-gallon, do you think? Or
that's a good 9.5. I mean,
it's got a bend on the top.
With the feather, with the feather, it adds a little flair. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm missing the feather.
This is the Bailey. This is a classic hat. Yeah.
So if you're listening to the podcast, you're missing out on the eye candy that is Dan's cowboy hat. And also I'm wearing a vintage trucker hat. We're going to talk about hats in just a second, because we like to be random. But back to Dan, guest on. He is a father of 4. He is finishing seminary, which has been awesome. I mean, I say awesome. I'm not in the thick of that you are, but awesome to get nearing the finish line. Dan's also a caregiver. And what am I missing, Dan, from just anything else with your bio?
Yeah, no, that about sums it up. Staring down the pipe of seminary. Got about 10 more classes left. Hope to finish the summer. And currently, I'm working as an intern as a hospital chaplain. So that has been kind of a new thing I've kind of onboarded with, and it's been quite the adventure. So.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah. So is your plan kind of with that to, kind of go through that and then kind of see if that's really your destination, chaplaincy?
Yeah. I mean, my hope right now is that, pastoral ministry will still be in the cards for me down the road. And then with that, maybe kind of a both and thing where being able to serve the church, but then serve those in hospice or in the hospital setting. And I've done a couple weeks of orientation, and it's heavy, but I've loved it so far. And I mean, much of my own story has revolved around hospitalizations and so we hit the ground running day one in the orientation, and I was praying, and I felt this could definitely be a viable option for me to jump in and serve. So
that's awesome.
Can't I never thought this would be something I'd ever do, but God surprised us sometimes. Yeah. So
wow. Well, it's exciting to see where that goes, and so we are at the time of this recording. We're in South Carolina. We're about to get, the whole Southeast is about to get blasted with this Ice-mageddon, they're calling it. So we're doing this recording. And we could be without power for the next 7 days. So and it's hitting tonight, right? So
it's coming. Yeah.
I mean, so instead of like binging a Netflix show, or what else could we be doing to like maximize our usage of, we're recording a podcast for your entertainment and pleasure. So we're sacrificing for the 3 devoted listeners out there. But speaking of that, real quick, we gotta go down memory lane on ice storms. Circa 99, 2000, somewhere in there. Massive.
Yep.
What do you remember about that ice storm?
Well, yeah. That one was a bad one. And in fact, now that you say that, it was actually for the reason of that ice storm, we couldn't watch the Minnesota Vikings in the NFC Championship game when they were playing the Atlanta Falcons. We had to, the power was out, so we actually had to tune in via radio to listen to the game. We couldn't even watch the game. So that was one of the first things I remember about that is, yeah.
Really? Because then it was a different one because I was with you guys at a different one because see I watched the game in college.
Yes.
That was 98. So
okay,
are you thinking the 2000 with the Giants?
98. So I think there were two back-to-back bad ice storms, but yeah, I'm thinking 99 2000 was the really bad one. Yeah.
Because that was like
that was
it a 10-day out of power?
I mean it was every bit of 10-day. I mean it was rough. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it felt like an eternity, since we had been to school and power was out for days on end. I mean, that was memorable. Yeah, I think a lot of people look back and like that was the worst. So
see, the thing is that so we're going to talk more about our growing up in North Dakota and we're not, hey, when it's 40 below zero or 50 or whatever it can get there, it's crazy. But what they don't have, is down here. Yeah, it doesn't get, but when you get freezing rain and we have tons of trees and a lot more population, like I don't remember having power knocked out up in the Dakotas. I mean, I'm sure that happened, but like probably wind is what did that. But like, it's no joke down. I mean, and so yeah, so we'll see what becomes of this.
Yeah, and I remember. Yeah, and we'd have relatives from North Dakota come down during like kind of an ice storm, and they were kind of scared. I mean, I'm just like driving on the road, and these were seasoned drivers, and yeah, it's just a whole different bear. So
it feels apocalyptic when there's like a run on bread at Dollar General, and I mean everything is you kind of get that picture of every man for himself. Like I mean. COVID and toilet paper did that too, but it was, you get a little hint that humanity can get ugly, when there's fear. So, but
it can get ugly. Yeah. I was in Greenville last night, and there was just like a wrap around a building of an Ace Hardware for people in line getting propane gas. I mean, it's just unbelievable, so
crazy.
Yeah, we're gonna button down the hatches here, boy. In a couple hours, she's coming. So,
a nor'easter. All right. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about. Well, so one of the things about this podcast that kind of has become a part of the culture is props, and so if you're listening on Apple, you're missing some great scenery, I guess. Dan's cowboy hat, and then I'm wearing an old vintage trucker hat I got off of eBay. So let's talk a little bit about the hat. So first, you go ahead with the Haas Cartwright there.
Yeah, the Haas Cartwright. Yeah. So the cool thing about this hat is this was handed down to me by Grandpa Harold. That is my mom's dad, who's still alive. He's about 96 right now. And for Trav and I mean, he's a hero. Tougher than nails. This gritty North Dakota grain farmer. And obviously, they don't know how much longer they have left. We hope it's another, 10, 20 years. But they're giving away a lot of their stuff. And this went down to the basement to go kind of sort through all the different items. And there was a Bailey box, Bailey hats, which is a kind of an iconic brand. And yeah, this is the one that Grandpa gave me. And this has been a conversation starter, not just like like what's the story behind that? It's so it's been it's been a treasure to wear. I know this in October, Ryan and I and our boys went out to Yellowstone. We'll share a little bit about that later. But for Ollie's 11th birthday, he wore this hat into a saloon in
Wow.
Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and just that just so it's kind of this iconic thing of like grandpa's passing it down and he's wearing it, and then one of the things we did around the table as we're eating a $70 ribeye was we would take the hat, pass it around, and everybody had to share like what was your favorite kind of memory so far. So
Oh,
anyways,
nice.
yeah,
It's like a totem kind of thing.
it's been a good one.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'd say it's there's some stories behind that. You look at that thing; it's got a good kind of a bend to it at the top. A good maybe seen some rodeo days, bad bull riding accident. Um, well, so my hat, I got this. It's our hometown rugby pep band, which I was in the pep band, but this looks like a classic '80s trucker, preceded my era, but got it off eBay. And Dan, you're a pretty big fan of truckers, aren't you?
Big fan of truckers. I've had some real bad ones, memorably bad. Some that I just can never part with. I should have probably years ago, but they're still hanging on the shelf or in a box. But man,
What?
I think for me, one of the yeah.
No, go
Are
ahead.
we going to
Just
talk about what makes a bad
let's go.
trucker hat?
Let's go either that or what makes a good one first, because let's camp out there for a second. So,
Yeah, I think
um,
what makes a good one, that's it's got to be from the 80s. I think like 80s, early
yep,
90s. Some of
yep,
it just has to do with just the wear and tear. I mean,
yeah.
that's one thing about a trucker, the wear and
You gotta
tear.
have. So let's go. I'm gonna go gold. The gold leafs on the bill.
Yep.
Anything sort of a large patch, preferably commercial equipment, cranes, tractors, bands. What are we missing of other things that
Yeah,
for a good
just a
one?
good random gas station. Yeah, for a good one. Just a random, like, what is like this taxidermy place, just something super
Right.
weird.
Well, okay. So let's dive.
Usually, yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, usually the place that is being advertised is out of business,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah. No, that's
just still has that memory. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, if it's out of business, even better. So if okay, so let's talk about what does make a bad one. I'm wearing one that's an example that I think does have. So, too pillowy is one of mine. So like if it it's kind of like a Super Mario hat. I mean, this. Do you see the like pillowy of this? What are some other categories of a bad trucker hat?
Yeah, I think I got two. So I think
Okay.
one, which is maybe the worst, is on the inside. It's been so weathered that like the inside like foam has all just kind of rotted. So
But
like when you take it off, there's all this dust all over your hair. It's trucker dust.
trucker dust, and
So,
it's cancer causing. Um, yeah, you take it off and it looks like you've got like a scalp infection or something. Just yellow powder everywhere. Yeah, that's that might be the top. I mean, that's because you don't
yeah.
always know when you got a dusty, like the dust is gonna just break free. Like
Oh
you
yeah.
might be in a Goodwill and it was good to go, and like the car ride or
Or yeah, there's like just a band of dust like over your eyebrows, like just
okay,
so
I'm gonna go.
yeah.
That may be at the top, but too tall. There is. I mean, a good trucker, you want height, but there are some that like you start. You're approaching 9-10 inches. And you got it's getting up there. So we said foam too powdery, a bad bend. You got kind of a
Yep.
angular.
Yep.
Grandpa sat on it, and it never came back to its form. Uh, I
Yeah,
don't know. I
yeah.
think we've covered a crease. I mean, anything else? We covered all the.
Yeah, no, that was my second
Yeah.
go-to. Yeah, it was just a huge peak. I mean, like a cornice on top with just like, but it's just this fold that just goes into this triangle. And then like I've seen some that are like have the peak, but then they bend outward like the top. So it's just this almost looks like a conductor hat. It's like-
But see, that's where
yeah,
I'm at because it's like that really blurs the line between still like retro cool, like vintage, like kind of cool, because
right.
it has a little of that deformity, but it's a fine line between where that gets a little bit
Yeah,
too much pillow
it's got
there. I mean,
yeah, yeah. It's got to have character. It's got to have character.
it
So
does have that. So, well, speaking of character, um, we grew up in North Dakota, and I've definitely had on guests that have either been, maybe classmates or just, also, friends or whatever from, back there. And really has been, I'm in middle age and you're about getting there as well. Have been a lot more reflective on just childhood and growing up and, I guess the ways we were formed by things and places were formed. You and I both love a quote, it talks about, tell me the land where you come and I'll tell you who you are. Tell me the landscape where you live and I'll tell you who you are.
yeah.
What kind of comes to your mind as you look back to growing up there and,
Hmm.
memories or how it's maybe even impacted you today?
Man, I think the older I get, and I'm 40 now. I think the older I get, the more my heart just softens towards my childhood,
Mm-hmm.
and the more kind of reflective I am. And some of that I think has to do with the fact that I have four kids, and
Mm-hmm.
um, so as I'm kind of with my kids and vicariously kind of living through them and making fun memories of them, like I kind of oscillate between kind of a sadness
Okay.
of what was,
Yep.
and also kind of an excitement of wanting to bring them into kind of my story as a North Dakota kid growing up in a farm. And right now we're renting in a a kind of a cookie cutter neighborhood. And
Mm-hmm.
you just don't have the backyard and the land. And I just think, for me, to your point, how the land forms you, how the land shapes you, and it's really in your DNA, it's in your blood, it doesn't leave. It's part of you. And
Mm-hmm.
I think first is the land, and then second I think is just the people.
Yeah.
uh the just the Midwestern. There's just no pretense. There's what you see is what you get. Um, Kind of a soft, quiet strength that so
Mm-hmm.
many people embody.
Yeah.
And yeah, those things, along with just all the memories we had with family and just
Mm-hmm.
all of those stories that have shaped
Hmm.
me in profound ways.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It, as you were saying that, it kind of made me just reflect for a second. I took my mind to when we, buried dad. We, uh, kind of had a memorial down here in South Carolina and then, thought it really needs to have a closing chapter of, that up there at our farm. And the farmland that we used to own had a cemetery on the land. I mean, that was, all the neighbors,
Mhm.
made use of that. And so we had this powerful, service there where with dad's ashes, we buried that. And, um, it just, even that moment of, looking out across the fields that, dad tilled and I did as well. And, looking at our old farmstead. And then also then as we, kind of were in this final prayer and kind of closing out that service and just, the wind, kind of just a wildness in the air. It just, they couldn't have been more like iconic North Dakota than even, you know what I mean? Like just of sort of, kind of
Mhm.
burying
Hmm.
dad, in that moment. just
Yep.
remember the wind, and I was like, yeah, this seems right.
Yeah.
This seems how it should be.
Yeah. Yep. And I think it reflected who dad was. I mean,
Yeah.
it was yeah, rugged, it was earthy, as we're literally putting earth on his ashes. There's a grittiness, there was, yeah, just and for heaven's sakes, that's where dad came to faith. I mean, in that
Mm-hmm.
very, he'd always tell that story of in that cemetery is where he came to know the Lord, So yeah, I mean, just
Yeah.
literally a full circle of
Hmm.
how um how the Lord brought him, and then we get to take him back. And
Hmm.
yeah, I think it was one of the brothers were wrapping up the final hymn, I think, that we were singing, and yeah, just the heavens just broke open, like in that
Yep.
just split
Yep.
second, and the rays kind of came down, and yeah, that was it was one of the most powerful things I've been a part of, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And kind of a last thing on that before wrapping that up is like, so we go back to this small church that, dad and mom kind of helped launch, way back in the day, and had kind of a memorial there and whatever. And I think we were astounded of just a big number, and it wasn't big, but a big number of who was there were farmers,
Mm.
neighbors that farm near us.
Yep.
I, we never would have predicted that. I mean, and
Mm.
just like kind of what that part meant too, of like, I don't know, seeing those guys that were,
Mm.
man, I mean, and just, yeah, that sort of
Yeah.
just connection to that. It was just, wow.
Yeah, that was, yeah, and again, that what dad would have wanted, but and that was a cold call, kind of like, hey, if you're in town and you can make
Hmm.
it, and yeah, packed it out. And I think what was so cool about that is, people who would maybe never rub shoulders on an afternoon, sipping coffee together, like all came together, and it was just really,
Yeah.
really cool. And you got to hear some of these old farmers tell stories of dad, and it's
Hmm.
just because dad didn't brag on himself.
Right.
Dad didn't really
Right.
tell many stories about him.
Hmm.
So allowing some of these old guys to share those stories were, yeah, super memorable.
Oh my gosh. And then, God, this just keeps going. I thought I was going to your point, Bob Stenson, who's a legend, I think was reffing football games in
Yeah.
his late 80s, if I'm not mistaken. Also coached, was
Yeah.
a peer high school coach of our dad, who graduated high school in '67. And I know dad was I don't know if he was a 160-pound defensive end or whatever, but he was small, but he was a relentless guy in the line. And so getting to have Bob tell us memories of watching dad in the football field, because we kind of loosely heard stories and we knew how passionate dad was about football, in his own life. And I'll never forget when Bob said he talked to a kid who I think went on to play for UND as a running back. Remember this? And
Mhm.
he Grafton or some nearby town in high school. He said, I never was hit as hard on the football field, even in college, as I was by that rugby kid. And he was somewhat dad on the line, right? I mean, it was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And he said, dad was strong as an ox. I mean, that was his. I
man.
mean, gosh, to be 160 pounds moving a
Yep,
center, or,
right,
it's
right.
unbelievable.
Yeah. So,
So,
yeah. But yeah, it's been great. Obviously we have, a lot of families still up there and between Rugby and Fargo and stuff. And so, getting to wish it could happen more often, but you've gotten your family up there not too long ago, right? And we were a few years ago, and
mhm.
just magic, getting to show your kids. It's where
Yep.
dad grew up, and yeah,
Mm.
so very cool. Well, before we kind of get more into like kind of some stories from your life and things like that, as you reflect on this last year, I'm always interested in random stuff. Is there anything that funny, random, awkward that happened to you this last year?
Man, this is This has been a calm year in terms of
Okay.
like pretty epic stories. So there's no, I've had some zingers in the past for sure. Um, I would say a random story. You know, we were I did a church planting internship out in Colorado this summer. So we just had the funnest time. You know, really, literally traversing the country with our family, and we stopped at a at a Bucky's, and I think we were in New Orleans, and you know, just Bucky's just awesome and huge. And anyways, I get out of the bathroom, and I'm wearing the name of my seminary on my shirt, and a lady just points to me and is like come here. I'm like, what? You know, then I'm like walking over towards her, you know, at the drinks, you know, the fountain, whatever. And she's like, just wait here. And I'm like, like, I don't know where my kids are. And then she goes and gets her husband. And here,
Wait.
it was the TA to the class I was taking. And then, you know, so I was taking a global class, and these are, I mean, students from all over the world that take these. And, yeah, the teacher's assistant, he grades all the finals and the papers.
Mm-hmm.
And anyways, yeah, just hilarious. He's like, you go to RTS? And yeah. And he goes, yeah, which classes were you in? I named the class. He's like, is your name Dan? I'm like, is your name
What?
Steve? Like, and
No
he's like,
way.
yeah, I'm grading your paper right now. Like, just wildest thing. You can never make it up at a Bucky's,
At a
you know? So
Bucky's.
that was, yeah. And then, yeah.
Bucky's is like
But,
a Where's Waldo? Like, I mean, it's a sea of people. The fact that we even like in a Bucky's saw one another.
oh, man. Yeah, exactly. And, yeah, wild. Yeah, wild story. And
That's
everybody's a good Bucky story. Yeah, I
oh
know
man, that's
Ryan recently shared our other brother. He had a huge meltdown. His like 2 year old, 3 year old, and George, and you know, everybody was getting pop or whatever, and George didn't get one, and just Ryan was like, he just when he loses it, he just falls backwards, and he fell into a trash can, and just Bucky's and nuggets and chips are everywhere. Just like, hugest like meltdown ever.
into a trash
And Ryan
can.
had like 9 kids. He was trying to, it fell into a trash. I guess it was a low trash can, maybe for the napkins or something, or the lids. But Ryan had 9 kids, and he's disoriented,
Oh my
can't
gosh.
think.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Bucky's can be a nightmare, and that didn't help for those that are scared to go there. That's incredible. Wow. Well, well, speaking of more stories, really love that part of this podcast of just storytelling. You are a great storyteller. And then in a cowboy hat, I mean, that's just up a notch. So, um,
yeah.
I wanted you to share at least the story of you love the outdoors, love exploring, love mountain climbing. You're, you know, all about like
Yep.
big time stuff, a lot of adventures. But you had a particular adventure. Is it when you were, was it on your proposal or with your, then to be wife, Ginny? Bring us into this.
Yeah. So yeah, to your point of man, I have had some sticky adventures over the years. This particular one was we were married a year in, and we were kayaking down the coast. So I think what you're referring to, Trav, is yeah. So when I proposed to Jenny, we also kayaked. We kayaked out to a little, basically in Charleston Harbor, to
Yep.
kind of like a bird sanctuary kind
Yep.
of thing. And I proposed right there. So that kind of really, yeah, got me super interested in the like ocean kayaking. I'm like, man, we could do more of this. So yeah, it was a year later. I convinced Ginny into going on a 7 mile open ocean paddle to an island, um, not
Wow.
knowing what we were getting into, and it was absolutely wild. Um, Now I say open ocean. It was a mixture of kind of an inlet and then
Mm-hmm.
a sound,
Mm-hmm.
which for those of you who don't aren't maybe familiar with all the lingo of that, a sound is essentially you're still shielded a little bit by the land, but the ocean is feeding directly into this
Yeah.
huge body of water. And it actually is almost, in some ways, kind of more dangerous depending on the tides and the currents.
Hmm.
So, anyways, we had this grand idea to kayak to Capers Inlet off the coast, and yeah, and to spend the night. So all of our gear, everything was in two kayaks. So classic Dan story. We get to the marina and Isle of the Palms, and getting everything unloaded and all that. And we go into the marina to kind of do just, grab a last minute drink, go to the bathroom. And I kid you not, a salty dog sea captain is in there chalking it up with some other sprint boat captains or whatever. And as I'm like getting sunflower seeds and stuff, I hear him saying, there's a storm brewing in, just this guttural, this deep, salty. I mean, and you could not make it up. And, they're talking about the storm that's coming, and I just, pass it along, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And just, missed every single warning sign of like, okay, this is ominous. You don't need to be,
Right.
going out here in the ocean. But, yeah, so we get in, load the kayaks, and we're going down a kind of an intercoastal waterway, and everything's great. The sun's out, and not much wind, and we're just enjoying this paddle. And then it opens up into this sound, and I have no experience with tides and currents other than just being swimming in the ocean, but it's a whole different thing. You're actually trying to navigate open water. And yeah, man, I'd say about 30 minutes in, we were in a pretty perilous situation.
Dang.
And I'd say this, like, I've been in some pretty hairy situations, out in the wilderness. I've been stranded on a mountain overnight in the Rockies. We had climbed Eagle Peak, which is the highest peak in Yellowstone National Park, and actually had to spend the night on the side of a cliff with some guys. That was bad. I've been
Jeez.
in electric storms on the top of some mountains out there where you're literally trying to run down the mountain. It's very dangerous. I would say this one takes the cake in terms of just being in a super precarious spot where you are fully committed and there is no turning back. There is something about the open ocean that
Mm-hmm.
is just wild and scary. So we're, we're out doing this thing, and the water is slowly starting to lap inside of the, in the cockpit. That's your first sign you're in trouble. The second thing, we started getting separated, because as you're paddling with all your might and all your power, right? And that the current is kind of separating us, just a little at first. So, I don't know what I'm doing. I have like the map on my iPhone. Well, I'm trying to find my bearings, as we're kind of now out in open water. And I remember getting over to the side, and I was in an oyster bed, razor sharp oyster, and I'm just getting sloshed by water. And I'm trying to figure out where we are. And I was probably looking at my phone maybe for 2 minutes. And in those 2 minutes, Jenny is probably 200 yards away from me. I mean, we're that separated. And it was kind of in that moment
Whoa.
of like panic, like you are in panic mode, like, and she's hollering like, why did you make me do that? Then you're, I mean,
Why
you're
are
in
we
trouble,
out
and you're just,
Right.
why are we out here? What are we doing?
My
And
dad's gonna kill you.
and yeah, right. And yeah, man. And I was panicked, because for every 10 strokes you're trying to put in the water, I mean, you're just getting pushed back. And I'm just looking at this, then I'm looking back and I'm like, well, maybe if we go back, then we could do that, but that would be just as hard. So you're literally committed. And I remember seeing a jet ski come towards us, and I
Oh man.
took my paddle apart and flagged him down. And I was just like, we need help. Like we're getting ice. What do we do? He's like, you got to get it out of the middle, and I'm in the middle of the sound. He's like, you got to get near the shore, and
Like,
which I
yeah,
knew, but I'm trying
right.
to keep up with Jenny and stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, and at this time, man, the sky was black and pouring down rain. And anyways, I don't even know how we did this, but we paddled for probably 3 miles and just the chop, and finally caught up with her. And we saw the island, and we just gave it all we got. And I don't even know how we did it. Get to the island, and you're just exhausted. You get off the boat, and all of these kids are just literally sleeping in this island. And it was like this episode of Lost. Like, what in the, like, they're actually like legit, like sleeping.
Like on the
You're,
beach.
yeah, just on the beach. And come around the bend and finally see an adult, and get to know her a little bit. And she's like, yeah, we're from Baltimore. We had a sea kayaking expedition here. These are inner city kids from Baltimore, and the storm is really bad. And it sounded like she knew kind of what she was doing. And I was like, well, what are y'all gonna do? She's like, we're gonna hunker down, but just call your expedition company and they'll come and pick you up.
Mm-hmm.
And just the sheer panic sets in of like, we're not with a company. I mean, it's just me and her. And she's like, have you not looked at the weather report? And anyways, we had to spend the night, and just all night. Then you're like, the fear of, I've got to go back out there, got to go back. And it ended up being the next morning, she radioed in for the Coast Guard, and they came and rescued us.
And all of them too.
And eventually all of them. But he was not happy. He was not happy to have to come out there and haul my dumb butt back to the harbor. But I'll never do anything like that again. Never anything in the open ocean. I can handle a mountain, but there's just something, you just have no control. So you're at the whim of Mother Nature. So
see,
and I'm still married, so somehow, but
it became a metaphor for the rest of your marriage. So the thing is, I remember, I mean, how epic and harrowing or whatever, but I thought you were in the same kayak. So the fact that you were like and they make two double cockpits, don't they, or tandem kayaks?
They do a tandem. Yeah, they call it a tandem kayak. Yeah.
I didn't know you were separate, because that adds then to like the separation part.
Have we been in the? Yeah. Oh
wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole different story. When I proposed, the year before or whatever, we were in a tandem. We went to that little bird sanctuary or whatever together. But this was completely different boats. Yeah.
Jeez.
So, and when it's just you, that's one thing. But when your spouse is, want to keep her alive, it's a whole nother thing.
And then, so there were points in which you had completely lost sight of land, or did you lose your bearings? Like, you don't know, are we headed which, or you always at least had some sense of the shore, the coast?
I had a sense of the shore. I think what was hard is when you're looking out, I guess in this direction would have been east. When you look at a map, things look so small, but when you're there in the middle of that sound, you just kind of get completely disoriented. And you're looking at marsh way off in the distance, but you're not sure, is it like 10 degrees that way? Is it 5 degrees this way? Is it, so you're kind of guessing. And stuff like that. But Yeah, I don't know if you've
Yeah.
ever had any experience in the open sea, but I think it's got to be one of the most. And I've heard, people saying one of the scariest things of the human experience to be in the open ocean, like during a storm. Like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
up there.
I mean,
So
I was gonna tell about my scary story at the wave pool at Great Wolf Lodge, but now I feel like I don't. That doesn't even. I mean, although there's other reasons to be scared there with some of the clientele, but
all
the
right.
wow, man, that's crazy. You're right. The open ocean, and like what you said too, of like at that distance, if you point your kayak like a degree, 2 degrees, 10 degrees, the different change that trajectory would be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's making me imagine, yeah, like
Yeah.
you could be, holy cow.
Yeah. Well, and to add just a little bit of the just craziness of it all, a couple years after that, I had went down to the coast again, and I was talking to just a shrimper. Sometimes these restaurants are right by the pier and stuff, and I was just for fun. I was like, man, what are some of the biggest sharks you've seen out here? He goes, there's some huge great whites I've seen in these waters. I'm just like, I mean, it's legend,
What?
just but then you're in this thing, and who knows what's under you? I mean,
Right.
what
Well,
is
that's the,
lurking?
well, you're
That's
right.
the suspense.
You're right. That's the thing is like a mountain is, it has its own, you slip or this or, but I guess you can get eaten on a mountain too. I mean, I guess there's things that can, but I think because in an ocean, you can't be, what you don't see, and
It's
like
what you don't see.
what you don't
That's the
see.
thing. Yeah.
Or I imagine too, like you hear the stories of where, you just get stranded out there and now you're in this like psychological, like you're dying of thirst.
Yep.
You start to like make those decisions of like, well, I just have to start drinking this water. You can't, shouldn't. How are we gonna? Yeah, I mean that's, oh, I just can't
Yeah.
imagine.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then throwing a fin in the distance. Yeah. It's
Oh.
done. Done.
Well, and like,
Yeah.
and in all these types of stories, I mean, my only comparable, it's not even close to that, was just getting lost mountain biking one time in Georgia in the mountains. And that, it was coming on nighttime and stuff like that. And it was in the winter. But I think it's in those moments too when you're kind of like, it's almost like it feels like a dream. Like, is this happening? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
is this really like,
Yep.
um, golly.
Is this, yeah, is this real? Like,
Yeah.
is
Is this
this, like, am I seriously in this situation? Like
right?
30 minutes ago, everything's great, sipping coffee,
Right.
having a good time. And now it's just like
Right.
perilous. Like,
Exactly. Like
what?
I was just at Starbucks. My life is going to come to an end in a kayak with my wife out in, and no one knows where we're at.
Right.
Wild.
Yeah. 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 And last thing I'll say on this is the whole time in the back of my mind was this horrible documentary I'd watched about this New Zealander who was trying to be the first guy to kayak from across the Tasman Sea, which is from the bottom of Australia to New Zealand, and just this horrible, dark documentary where he doesn't make it, but man, I'm just having these flashbacks of like, is this gonna be me like on the news? Just this overturned boat. Can't find the guy. It's just terrible.
Oh man.
So I'm staying at home. I'm staying on the shore. Yeah, I'm staying on the
Stay on
shore.
the shore. Stay. Yeah. You got 4 kids and oh my gosh, the wild days. Well, there's no real good segue to go where we're going next in this conversation. Although, and you were the one that told me this, so this is actually a segue. We're going to talk about a absolute devastating moment in your life that you're going to talk about, but in that moment, you did talk about this like surreal, like in this car accident, like that, like, is this happening to me? I remember you saying like, is this real? Is this happening? So there's a
Mhm.
segue of like, as a lot of lightness and goofing around so far in this conversation. But yeah, I mean, this moving to something heavier here in some of this, was this moment in your
Mm.
life. But yeah, take us into, so this summer, or no, I'm sorry, fall,
Yeah.
late fall, right? You did go back to Yellowstone, where there was an accident that you and Ryan and Jeremy, three brothers, in our family were in, and you
Yep.
revisited that together, you and Ryan. So take
Mm.
us into
Mm.
just kind of
Yeah.
the setup of the accident, and then the story.
Yeah. So for those who maybe new listeners or haven't heard the previous podcast where we kind of talked about this, but yeah, 16 years ago, our family, I say our family because it was a seismic shift, I think, for all of us. But personally, yeah, for sure, it was a kind of call it a kind of a watershed moment for me, where everything in my life is categorized either before the accident or after the accident, right? So
Mm-hmm.
in 2009, summer of 2009, we were three of us brothers. We were doing some ministry out west, and we were coming back from Glacier National Park, headed to West Yellowstone. And yeah, our life changed in the blink of an eye. We had a horrific car accident uh, right outside of Bozeman, Montana. And that would be the epicenter of, yeah, the story that Trav's setting up here with us going back to visit. But yeah, it was a hard time for all of us, obviously, nearly losing a brother. Jeremy became a quadriplegic as a result of that accident. And, for 16 years, yeah, we have visibly seen the scars of and the remnants of that car accident. Most probably vividly represented in Jeremy. There's times where we're so used to seeing our brother Jeremy, who just turned 38, just in a wheelchair and a hospital bed. And for a lot of our kids, that's all they've ever known is seeing him that way. But it's kind of jolting when you think like that was a result of an accident, that we were
Mm-hmm.
in together and still living that reality. It's not something that's just went away. But yeah, myself having to spend 30 plus days in ICU out in Bozeman, and Jeremy battling for his life out in Billings, and that also was the start of a great journey for our dad, who assumed caregiver, and for the next 7 years of his life, he would sacrifice everything he had to give to his son and to the rest of the family. So many stories, Trav, so many hard things, beautiful things, but yeah, we had the opportunity to go back together, Ryan and I, to visit, yeah, this epicenter of pain that
Mm-hmm.
has really marked our life. And God did some amazing work the day we went out there. But Ryan and I also had the opportunity to do some counseling prior to that date of going out there, which was really helpful to
Mm-hmm.
kind of frame how to process some of the
Mm-hmm.
relived trauma
Mm-hmm.
that we would see, and then on the flip side go back and just be able to process some of that with the counselor, and
Mm-hmm.
together.
Mm-hmm.
So it was profound. But yeah, I mean,
That's cool.
I think, yeah, I think the setup to the day was, we stayed at the Field and Stream Lodge there in Bozeman, and that morning we were about to leave, and the receptionist said, so what do you guys have fun planned today? And we're like, well, let's kind of tell you. And we told her, and just within 5 minutes of just sharing, kind of why we're out here, and I mean, she's just in absolute tears, just so moved, not by our words, but just the reality of really of Jeremy, of
Mm.
that man, you have a brother. He
Mm-hmm.
survived, and 16 years. He's been paralyzed. I mean, just it's really got a hold of her heart, and I think that set the stage. I think for the morning of like, yeah, this story still has power,
Mm-hmm.
and it still touches people. Somehow God's chosen to use it again and again, and I think a lot of that has to do with Jeremy's still alive, and he
Mm-hmm.
still bears the wounds of
Hmm.
that day in a horrible way, being paralyzed. So we were able to bring our oldest sons. So I was able to bring my son Levi, who's 12, and Ollie, who was 11, and so yeah, we took them to the scene. So I think, from the hotels, it was a couple miles
Mm-hmm.
driving there, and that was hard because um, we were headed to mile marker 294 off of I-90, and yeah, just not knowing, yeah, just how you're going to respond, when you get
Mm-hmm.
there. But then you got two kind of young men who know a lot of the story, but then now
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
they're gonna walk it. They're gonna be in it with us. And um, I don't know if you've ever seen the Netflix movie All Quiet on the Western Front, but it's
Mm-hmm.
a dark rendition of World War I, just kind of
Mm-hmm.
trench warfare. And but there's this scene that I was kind of reliving in my mind as we're headed to the accident. But there's a scene in that where these kind of starry-eyed young recruits are heading towards the front.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't been in battle or anything like that, but they're just kind of chipperly, marching. And then there's this ominous kind of in the background. The bombs are exploding, and the darkness is in front of them. They have no idea
Mm-hmm.
of what they're about to get into. And I it kind of felt like with every mile as we're getting closer, we're inching towards this battlefield, this front, that we were going to have to just contend with. And yeah, we pulled up, and um, Ryan was in the passenger seat. I was in the front seat, and on the way, Ryan was reading some of his Bob Dylan book, which was the very book he was reading as we had the accident in 2009. And there's
Hmm.
tons of wild metaphors to that. Down the road was the name of it. And
Hmm.
it wasn't until a year ago that Ryan found that book, bloodstained cover, and opened it up, and there were shards of glass that poured out of it. He had no idea. He forgot about it. It was in a box.
Hmm.
And so he brought the book with him, and, just to be in the moment. And like, this is what I was reading. And at the top of the page, first line is Bob Dylan said, there's not much talk about God today, but we're going to talk about him all night. And
Hmm.
so he's reading that to the boys. And yeah, we pull off to the side of the shoulder, and mile marker 294 is there, and Ryan and I get out, and Ryan was very overcome with sorrow, a little
Hmm.
bit more than I was. I think for me, my first kind of guttural instinct was safety. I was
Hmm.
kind of like scared. We're far enough off of the
Yeah, but
highway,
still dangerous
but
spot.
yeah, dangerous spot. I went back straight to where when I was last there was fight or flight. I'm trying to survive. I'm
Yeah.
trying to self protect. I've got to pull myself off of the road. I'm going to get ran over. And so it was just really interesting seeing our responses. Ryan consumed with just grief and sorrow. I'm just more kind of on edge and like, and
Man.
I was eventually able to soften in, but um, it was interesting, Trav, because it's like we were locked in the very emotion that we had when we had the
Well,
accident.
I was just gonna say, like, neuroscience now shows that like your body holds trauma, and so your trauma like it it's like your body, your brain, you're back at the scene of the trauma. The body held that. Here you are. That's your feeling. Ryan, who, and because you were badly injured, and then like you said, like, you know, sitting there waiting for a rescue. Ryan then is sort of, he's like physically fine, but like consumed with, yeah. So the
Yep.
parallels of almost revisiting the same roles you were in. Wow.
Yeah. 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 100%. And like I said, I was able to kind of get out of that a little bit more, but, you know, we just hand in hand, man, arm in arm. We just walked probably 50 yards towards the mile marker, and Ryan could not help but to keep saying, "It's so beautiful here. It's just so I mean, he kept
Yeah.
doing these
Yeah.
180s, and
Yeah.
and for him, it wasn't beautiful. You know, the day,
Yep.
3 in the afternoon of July 21st, 2009. It was war. It was chaos. It was dark,
Yeah.
and and then we both kind of snapped out of it. I'm like, you have the chaos of the highway, and then just over here you have the flowing prairie grass and the meadowlarks and just the beautiful vista off in the distance, and just absolutely surreal. And in fact, when we were leaving, got in the Jeep to drive away, it was my oldest son, Levi, 12, in the back of the Jeep, said in tears, he said, "Dad, how could something so horrible happen in a place so beautiful?
What a
How did
line.
this happen in such a beautiful place?" Yeah, and at that time we're all in tears, but in his mind too, it's just like it was a horrible thing that happened that can't be diminished,
Right.
because it was. Yet there was beauty on the horizon that really kind of overtook the chaos of that day. And
Wow.
Ryan brought a piece of art that Jeremy had done, and beautiful piece of art that Jeremy had painted with his foot, and or I guess at that point was with his hand. And under that piece, he captioned it, because Jeremy always names the art, and he captioned it, my greatest weapon is my joy. And we took that piece of art, and we taped it on the bottom of the mile marker, and not just kind of like little, we defiantly just kind of slammed it on
Yeah.
the tape, and just like, this gets the last word. Jeremy gets the last word here, not a newspaper headline, not a medical report, not a diagnosis or a prognosis, but Jeremy gets the last line. Like, my greatest weapon is my joy. And yeah, and Ryan kind of had a whole thing planned, and it was neat. But we sang "As Well With My Soul" right there, as we all kind of clutched the sign. And as you know, Trav, that was Dad's probably some of the last words he ever heard on this earth as he went into glory, was that hymn. So yeah, man, and I think another kind of somber just kind of thing of that whole day was, just being able to kind of orient, like, man, this is where the Jeep was, this is where Jeremy would have been, and this is where you were. And Ryan had a flashback that he had never had. He was like, yeah, it was right here where these three ladies were literally holding me back. I had to be restrained.
Wow. Really?
Because I had to be near Jeremy, right? And it was just, they had to pull me back. And and just to kind of, again, live in the moment, I just laid on the ground and just, because that was my perspective. It wasn't Ryan, a vantage point of just like all of the carnage. I was looking at the sky. And the day we went in October, it was warm and kind of eerily similar to the afternoon that we had our accident. And yeah, and Ryan laid down next to me and just looking at the clouds,
Hmm.
um and it was cool, man, because Ryan got up and he pulled me up off of the ground. And again, I think just a neat metaphor of he couldn't do
Hmm.
that before.
Wow.
He didn't have the ability. Like he wished he could have just made it right, made it better, and hey, let's go home. But and I just think that was a powerful moment, and just being able to reunite. We have our boys, um, but also just this grief of Jeremy is still in
Hmm.
a chair. He's
Hmm.
still in a bed, and we so wish he could be with us.
Hmm. He can't lay on the
Um,
highway and come back. And
yeah, yeah, and and maybe one just last odd observation from that day was we both had this deep feeling of we were so far from home. We're
mm,
just so far from home,
hmm.
you know. Maybe similar to war again. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
overusing the war analogy, but you're just in a faraway
Well,
foreign place, and
yeah.
it's not right. It doesn't feel right.
That's interesting you said that line because it made me think in the moment of back to your thing with war of how many things where you see where soldiers that are bleeding out are going to die. Say mom,
Mm, yeah.
home, something about
Yep.
am I really here? Just where are you? Yeah, man, how it all like your life comes back to home, or man,
Mm,
what an observation. Did you
mm.
guys some of that stuff was it like a lot of it, I guess some of it pre-planned, but was some of it like spontaneous while you're just like just to like try, or do this, or was it kind of thought out, hey, let's do
Mm.
this, or I'll pull you off the ground, or was some of it like just kind of you're
No,
there
that
and it's
that whole
like,
sequence, that whole sequence was like I think that was me, because I originally just we're walking, and I wanted to sit down on the grass, and you're, I don't know, 10, 15 feet
mm-hmm,
away from the road. I mean, you're
yep,
not gonna hit or anything, but
yep,
just to kind of look out over the field. And
yeah,
then I was just like, no, just lay on my back and just
right,
try to rethink. And yeah, so all that was impromptu. It wasn't
yep,
crafted. And
hmm,
but yeah. And
wow,
then just then I think kind of the thing we needed was humor too. Like
mm-hmm,
you have your two boys, and you don't know how they're going to respond. This is a heavy, this is a
right,
heavy
right,
day.
yeah, yeah,
And not only that, but then 30 minutes later, then we're going to the hospital. It's just like
uh,
how,
yeah, that's a lot,
and and just preteen boy, just in the midst of the heavy, just some banter and joking, and we needed that. Just we needed the lighthearted.
yeah,
Okay, like let's we're not dead here. Let's
right,
we're so that was good. And then then getting to go back to the hospital right after that, and getting to spend some time in a ICU room, just quiet and
yep,
listening to monitors, and
hmm,
yeah, just reliving, yeah, just all the visuals and the smells. And
right,
I remember getting the hand sanitizer. Oh man, it just brings you back.
yeah,
um so
hmm,
yeah, but uh we'll never forget it. Yeah, remarkable.
hmm,
Ebenezer Stone, uh, for Ryan and I. I think it really
mm-hmm,
helped the healing journey.
yeah,
Will always be more healing, but
yeah.
it definitely was a huge mile marker for us.
Yeah, I love everything about that, and even learn some new things right now from it. But yeah, just going back, physically putting your body in the presence together. You've been there separately, but never together since the accident, correct?
Yeah,
Um,
I've been there once. Ryan he'd never
okay,
been.
he had.
Yeah.
Oh, he had never
So
been. Okay, I thought he. Okay,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
then so those redemptive moments with some closure too, and then to man, that like you said, the last word of putting that on the mile marker, that, Jeremy's redemptive art, and um, gave me just chills. I mean, gosh,
Yeah.
that's wow,
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
Um, well, we're gonna actually, in this kind of final home stretch here, um, so you have a website, we have a website, but you're really the creator behind it. We'll talk a little bit more about this at the very end, but just in reference to this right now,
Yeah.
Joy in Despair is Jeremy's website. We'll have the link in the show
Yep.
notes. But in that, there's a short video of you detailing kind of the story. There's all kinds of more information about that, and again, we'll hit this at the end as well, but just want to note that right now. um I was going to say too, like, so the timing of that, as we look back to last year at the close of the year, it was Jeremy's birthday in November. He was 38, we're saying,
Yep.
and you guys had just gotten back from that Yellowstone trip, just a few weeks or so,
Yeah. I two
two
or
weeks. Okay.
three at the most. Yeah.
Okay. So that was crazy timing, cool timing, to then feed into, we as a family and community had an epic rad birthday bash for Jeremy.
Yeah.
Let's just a little bit talk about that. So put that together, invited, we called it Bash in the Berg. Fretwell's an amazing, we love Fretwell, a coffee venue right on the rail trail here. And so, yeah, what just, as you look back at that big bash, we had Wasperjaw's friends in a band play, music, spoken word, rap, friends, just a huge party.
Huge party. Man. Before I say anything to that, you went a little blurry and you have some
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Stefanski vibes right now. Just the good. Yeah, it's
Little
good. It's a
white.
compliment.
Yeah.
Good chin.
It's a
Yeah.
good reference too. That's a current event reference. You got hired
Yeah.
to the
Yeah, it is.
new coach.
um, yeah. Well, kudos to you, Trav. I mean, you were really the hands and feet that put that together. It was very well planned, orchestrated. Yeah, but just it was a man. How would I describe it? I mean, it was one of the most eclectic events I think I've kind of been a part of in terms of, yeah, to your point, with spoken word, we had a race with costumes, we had testimonials, we had, yeah, just an awesome folk
Folk
band
band.
play.
Yep.
Yep. And it, yeah, it was an open, kind of a risky deal, but fun, and open to the city. So, a number of people that, hadn't even heard about it to that day, were just kind of on the fringes, watching, listening. We were able to have some pretty cool conversations with some folks. Yeah, they were just really curious about what is this, and who's Jeremy, and who's this band, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So um yeah, I think for me, one of the more memorable parts was definitely the spoken word with
Mm-hmm.
Son the Poet and the Dove.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I don't know what your takeaway from that was, but
That was
that was
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah, because well, I mean, I think it was like a new poem. Well, it was a poem just that she had written for this event for Jeremy. So getting to kind of hear that like for the first time, and just like as part of this party, and she's incredibly talented and one of Jeremy's caregivers, so that adds another layer.
Yeah.
And their husband Dove, who also is spoken word and raps, had this awesome rap. And for one thing too, I think eclectic is right. It was like, it's hard to like describe unless you were there. I mean, but then to see like Dove out there rapping and having this like awesome, like, kind of rapping with God and hope and stuff like that. um I've never seen rap at Fretwell. I mean, I think that was, and it was like, I just remember Dove had the mic and like the sun is shining down. He's got his arms outstretched.
Yeah.
I'm looking at people just seeing this, and it's like, what is this? What is this thing? Right?
Yeah.
That's like,
Well,
and then just like Jeremy has a big sense of humor, and so just to have this, people wearing like ridiculous costumes for this race, it was like a convergence of things that don't normally come together. And in some way that like is a picture of like Jeremy's life. I mean, I'm eclectic and I
Hmm.
have a goofy sense of humor, so some of it probably had a little flavor of just me and personality, and you as well. I mean, we're kind of, but but then just this representation of like Jeremy brings so many different people together, and it was kind of a
Yeah.
picture of that, and it was just like, I'll be honest,
Hmm.
one of the top moments in my entire life. Just was. I mean, I
Mm.
just it felt
Mm.
like a taste of heaven.
Wow.
It was a party. It was just, man,
Uh,
I don't
yeah.
know. And just honoring
Yeah.
Jeremy,
That's,
just honoring him.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
100%. I think, um, yeah, honoring Jeremy, letting him be just the full, yeah, just, well, not only that, but I think all the people that came, I had friends that came that had never met him,
mm-hmm.
had heard stories, heard vicariously, but yeah, just being able to like come around and get a picture, encouragement. Yeah, I mean, everybody was just, yeah, to your point, it was a slice of heaven.
Yeah.
It was a diverse group of people, and yeah, just reflected the joy that Jeremy embodies. Day in,
Yeah.
day out. I mean, it was just a, and then the race, which was pretty awesome. Jeremy wanted to wear a monkey costume, so that was, and then yeah, and then having Brad Lartigue, who he was our ministry coordinator the summer of the accident,
Oh,
and he
yeah.
came all the way from Big Sky to be able to push Jeremy, at the front of the race, and that literally meant the world to
That,
him, and
that was huge.
so he's blessing, he's getting blessed.
Yep.
I mean, it's just
Yeah.
everywhere,
Yeah.
so.
Yes, Brad as well. And then our friends in the band Wasper Jaws. I mean, they've jammed with Jeremy. We have some videos of them playing music with Jeremy and a FETAR kind of foot guitar thing someone made. And
Yeah.
so they're huge friends of ours and Jeremy's, and so them playing, and God, it was just, they're awesome. And so yeah, it was
Mm.
just I'd love to. I'll try to remember to put up a link of them playing also with Jeremy. So anyway, yeah, just want to talk a little bit about that with you on this as we reminisce. Well, we're in the home stretch, final round here of the last little part here. So just want to know, first question for you as we close this out is, where have you been finding inspiration lately?
Mm. Yeah, yeah, it's a good question. I was recently given a biography of Eugene Peterson. It's called "A Burning in My Bones." Just kind of the story of his, yeah, just his ministry, but just really his upbringing and what formed him to go on and write the Message, which is what he was really known for, more of on a global sense. But man, that was a great read.
Hmm.
Number of reasons for that. I've always loved Eugene Peterson's writing style, just kind of his posture, who he was as a
Mm-hmm.
pastor. So much to be gleaned from, especially in our present
Mm-hmm.
day of everything's busy and fast and quick and
Mm-hmm.
big, and
Yep.
just how he just helps you, teaches you how to do ministry in small, ordinary,
Hmm.
obscure places and being okay with
Mm-hmm.
that, because that's
Hmm.
obviously where God loves to be. And a really neat thing about his story, really reminded me a lot of Dad. He's a
Hmm.
uh, Norwegian heritage. Came over from Norway, and then his
Hmm.
family, yeah, ended up in Flathead Lake, Montana. So a little different. North Dakota,
Mm-hmm.
Montana, but just yeah, just good,
Hmm.
man. Just good.
Oh,
I'm reading a lot of high academic stuff, and
yeah.
I'm just kind of,
Yep.
yeah. I mean, just to have a lighthearted,
Yeah.
like,
Yep.
this is just a story about, yeah,
Hmm.
just a former pastor, has been great
That's
for
awesome.
me. So what
I
about for
love.
you?
Um, yeah, and by the way, I love Eugene too. What a awesome person. I think for me, it's been really. connecting with people. I've been in seasons of just kind of like, I mean, I love social settings as well and people, but you know how like some seasons you just kind of go dark, or just like I don't know, kind of I don't know. I can be prone to also just like lone rangering stuff, and I know that's not good. And um, so at the little church we're at, yeah, just some really good connections with other guys, trying to be intentional about
Mm,
hanging out and just being real with each other of things we're going through. So that's been something, just being inspired by other people.
mm.
Um, and kind of like you too, just I love reading and, but so, just books that inspire me and quotes and things like that. So, closing thoughts. Uh, the, I want to say this in a shout out to Dan. A lot of people, or at least some people that may be listening to this podcast, um, they get Jeremy's newsletter. Again, Dan's the visionary behind the website, and we could actually we could close this down by what you want to say about that. But you have a newsletter that goes out monthly. It is unbelievable. It's about Jeremy's life, highlights that have
Yep.
happened in that month or whatever. It is incredible. I have multiple friends that tell me regularly, like, I am so inspired by this.
Mm,
So I have a link to the website that where you can sign up
mm.
for the digital version of that. And then so the two things I want you to close with, Dan, and then anything else you want to say is, talk about the website for just a minute,
Yeah.
and then the documentary coming out or that's being worked on for
Yep.
Jeremy. Yep.
Yeah. 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 So yeah, joyandespair.com. That's the that's the website you can go to. Those were some of the words that Jeremy specifically wanted in his ministry, if you will, of like, this is what I want it to be. It used to be called bejeremyslegs.com, and that still has a great meaning. And but yeah, this is yeah, just a good place to land to, number one, see Jeremy's story afresh. Uh, if you've never encountered it, if you've never really heard it, we have the written version on there. And if you click the story, you could just read it that way. We also have about a 14-minute video that just summarizes. It's called "Fight for Joy," which is a great quick summary of that. But yeah, to Trav's point, we have digital archives of all the newsletters. So there's a section on there. So if you don't get a physical one, you can go back and look at all the months. And yeah, it's just I think there's a common language that we all have, and that is trials and suffering. And we're
Mm.
all in our own, we're on our own season. We're all in our own
Mm-hmm.
wilderness. And um, Jeremy's purpose, and all I'm doing with this is just channeling what he wants, and that's just to
Mm.
share the name of Christ and to encourage people.
Mm-hmm.
Just encourage people, because there's a lot to live for.
Mm.
And the newsletters are just a little way, a little channel, a little tool to just ignite hope, ignite
Yeah.
just ways to find joy in life. Life can be hard. Life can be trying and confusing, and one day can be great, and the next it's the worst day of your life. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
I've encountered some in chaplaincy. You're
Mm.
you're stepping in with people, and this is their worst day that they have ever
Mm-hmm.
lived. And
Mm.
I can't wait to use this website in so many ways with conversations I'll have with people who are really grieving. But yeah, check it out, joindespair.com. And then Trav's wife Jess does great reels with
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy on Instagram and
Mm-hmm.
Facebook. And these are just some of your in and out of Jeremy's life and just what's
Mm-hmm.
happening with him. And that's another great way
Yep.
to check out what's happening. But yeah, so big picture here is we're in the final stages of a documentary. Um, it's been in production for a little over a year now, but we're really excited as a family of how the Lord's going to use this. We have two very gifted filmographers who have been working really hard on this thing, and yeah, I don't know if we have a projected date yet. I mean, I would think
Mm-hmm.
within 6 to 8 months we can maybe lock this in and it'll
Mm-hmm.
be out there. But we have amassed a huge audience of people already without really even advertising this. And that's literally no joke. I mean, even these filmers who live in St. Louis, I mean, they have a huge following of people who are like, when's it dropping? When's it coming out? And yeah, it essentially showcases Jeremy's life from childhood to present day, but just
Mm.
it shows the dark side of yeah, what's it like to be a quadriplegic? What's it like to be a caregiver? What are some of the stories of yeah, like our dad who literally gave his life
Right.
for his son. So but this draws tons, it's drawn tons of people together
Mm.
for the production from I think of Jeremy's high school track coach, Coach Fry, who there's going to be a
Mm.
sequence of him pushing Jeremy around the track that he, won races on, and just those two reflecting on running and
Mm.
so many cool tie-ins and interviews that have happened. So man, I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah. It's
Super
awesome.
exciting.
It's going to be powerful. We know that. So, yeah, I can't wait to. So, yeah, we will be having, updates or announcements of, whenever that's looking like it's coming out or how to access or whatever as that
Yep.
time gets
Yep.
closer. So, all right. Well, hour and a half in on this thing. We still have power. So,
We'll have power. Yeah. Snow hasn't fallen yet. So we're lights out here soon, but
yeah. Well, yeah. It's great having you on, Dan, and thanks for taking some time tonight.
man, this is great, Trav. Keep going. Man, you have an awesome podcast. It's fun to hear either, from other people just saying like, man, this, I know Jeremy, all of his nurses watch it. Yeah, it's blessing people. Dude, I love your sense of humor. I'm too serious sometimes. And I think, man, we just need to lighten up and
Yeah.
all the above, man. So
Well, I think you had a great sense of humor. But to your point earlier too, like I love what you said as you're reflecting on suffering and like, I've had some, and I've shared this in the podcast. Have had some difficult moments in my life, and it really was the gift of humor and as a coping thing that really also helped me get through some of those things. So humor is a gift, and grateful we can have that. So yeah, great hanging out tonight and on this recording.
yeah.
Hope you enjoyed the episode today. Check out the show notes for any links or resources shared in the episode. If you enjoy the podcast, it would be really appreciated if you'd subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and share it with friends. May we all remember these words from writer Mary Oliver. Instructions for living a life. Pay attention, be astonished, tell about it.